Hey Clipper fans, this is Cam for 15 back at it with another Clippers playoff recap. I know you're wondering, I thought you were gonna make the video the following night because that was the following night of the game. Well, one, I typically make videos the following night of the game, but I don't know. There's something about this loss kind of just disgusted me and stuff like that, and it just didn't want to make me record the video and make it because I feel like I would have been ranting more than just analyzing the game and stuff like that. But yeah, look, I'm gonna be here to analyze the game and stuff like that, and just give you my individual thoughts on what I saw in this game. That hey, oh man, one, it was just a hard game to watch for many freaking reasons. That first quarter by the Denver Nuggets, it was literally hard to watch because the Denver Nuggets in that first quarter essentially played one of the most perfect games of basketball I have ever seen. When in terms of in the terms of the most perfect basketball ever played, that's not like literally missing anything and making every shot you just throw up and make, whether it's contested and stuff like that. And if you don't know, guys, the Clippers, I mean, the Denver Nuggets shot 71% from the field in the first quarter. I don't care what anybody says. If you have a team that's shooting 71% in the field in a quarter, that's always hard to recover and try to bounce back from. Now, the Clippers had their chances to get back in this game. I'm not going to lie. The Clippers cut the lead, many times where it would get the lead shorter and then they wouldn't not just play, up to par with the Denver Nuggets. Just put this in just put this in food for thought. Denver Nuggets only win one of the four quarters in this game. That is the very first quarter of the game. They win that entire quarter, and that essentially that one quarter won them the entire game. Because every time the Clippers, tried to fire back, they would just, and credit to the Denver Nuggets again. They would hit the shots when they need to hit the shots to keep keeping the lead, expanded and not having the Clippers, make a comeback on them. But still, again, at the end of the day, it's the Clippers' fault. They were turning the ball over when they had chances to go to the free throw line. Well, when they had them chances, they missed their free throw shots. And then another thing too, Kawhi played arguably his worst playoff game. Oh, well, I wouldn't say his career, but his worst playoff game, you know, literally since he was a Spur, which been the main talking point. Kawhi Leonard was terrible tonight, to say the least. So I guess you can say all three of the best players in the one of all three of the best players in the league in terms of LeBron James, Giannis, and Kawhi. They all had some bad games as of late, and stuff like that. So if you're gonna target me because I said that, just look at the facts. All three of them had bad games these past few games. Now Giannis, he's had more bad games as recent than most of anybody, but yeah. So yeah. Listen, let's get to it. Now most of the players' points they all came in the first quarter. Jeremy Grant, he didn't really kill us much this game. He only had 5 points. So they lowered his point scoring down. Um, okay, good. He had 7 rebounds and 2 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. Let's make a mention of the fact that we'll probably see a lot of steals here and stuff like that. So yeah. Um, listen, and well, it isn't a fact thing. You know, the Clippers turned the ball over how many damn times? They turned it over 20 times. No, they turned it. I know. Douglas said they turned the ball over 17 times and only had 20 assists. Yeah, that's definitely not the game plan they had in game one. Paul Millsap in 31 minutes, he caught fire like a point in the third quarter and he finished with 13 points. Come on, dude. Look, Paul Millsap, Paul Millsap is an aging veteran. He is decent for for the game he's got, but listen, it's Paul Millsap. He should not be killing you guys. Like I said, he had 6 rebounds and 1 assist and stuff like that. Nikola Jokic, who was one of the main reasons why the Clippers were down so much they were down because the dude could not miss in the first quarter. He finished with 26 points, which was probably his best quarter because after that, he did really much next to nothing. He just kind of did, his in the paint stuff. But other than that, he really didn't do anything and stuff like that. He was 10 from 17 with the field. He was, like I said, he had 26 points in the first, and most of those points were just from the first quarter. Mostly because some guys were not closing out on him. They were just playing like they were in game one, where in game one, he would be left open for three and they would miss the shot. And still, or he would miss the shot. And I'm like, no, no, no. You got to freaking stick on this man like glue. All Nikola Jokic does, really, in the offensive game, unless he gets to try to post up, what he does is he sets a screen for the player who he's setting the screen for, and then he just pans back to the 3-point line and he just stays there. Now Doc Rivers might need to make an adjustment by either saying the person who's trying to fight the screen, you just stay glued to Nikola Jokic, or you tell Zubats fight over the screen, fight over the screen set. And just stay with Jokic. What I personally do on Jokic is I just stick to this man like glue. Do not let this guy get loose. Or heck, even though he's usually the last one also on the offensive side, trailing for the Nuggets, they just kick it out to him, and then he's usually just walking into a three, and then he just throws it up, and then he makes it. The Clippers got to pick him up defensively. Listen, I'm fine with Nikola Jokic beating us by at 2. If he makes a contested 2 and he just makes it because he's just throwing the ball up and it just goes in, yes, does it pain for me to see that as a Clipper fan because everything he throws up is legit a bucket? Yeah, and it sucks. But I'd rather live with a contested 2 or a 2-pointer from Nikola Jokic instead of him popping threes, just walking into them, or a screen's being set and nobody picks him up defensively and they're just sitting there watching him shoot the 3. I don't know, man. I just don't know. He had 18 rebounds, so he had a double-double tonight. So yeah, he had 4 assists and stuff like that. He also did have 3 blocks, which I guess you can say is much better. But again, some of these blocks that happened were kind of bad. Well, there weren't really blocks because the Clippers were getting hacked at the line. The rest of this game, man, they were very anti-Clippers this game. They were anti-Kawhi, anti-Clippers. Every time the Clippers were in the paint and they tried to go up and get fouled, the refs weren't giving them the calls. That's why you saw at the end of the game, Patrick Beverley got ejected because he was tired of the BS. He was tired of it. He was like, you guys are calling all these calls for these dudes, but we ain't got one call. We've been getting physically hounded when we get into the paint, but we get no calls. Yeah, that's my thing also about the refs. The refs were very anti-Clippers. Now you can say some people will say, "Oh, it don't matter because the refs have always been pro-Clippers." Not much of anything. I've been watching every game. The refs have always been anti-Clippers in these playoffs, and stuff like that. They were even more worse in terms on the Clippers than they have been because the Clippers were rightfully getting fouled. There was sometimes, like there was this one time Jermichael Green went up to lay the ball up and he got fouled, but the refs do not blow the whistle at all. And they considered that as a block when it was really a foul because he got slapped on the wrist. Kawhi Leonard, one of the reasons why he couldn't get to one of the reasons why he was off was because he couldn't get to the free throw line tonight because he wasn't getting the calls he was getting. But the typical calls you get is sometimes he flicks the head back, and usually as he goes up and he gets the calls. Never didn't get those calls tonight, but on the other side, Jamal Murray was doing that stuff and he was getting the calls. Gary Harris, he didn't do much of anything in game one, but he definitely showed up in game two. He hit the first shot of the game, which dictated, you know, the way the Denver Nuggets were shooting in that first quarter. And then, late in the game, he hit two clutch 3-pointers, to essentially kind of really seal the deal on the Clippers getting back. Listen, Gary Harris, he's coming off an injury, or he's coming off after playing how many games? This dude should not be at this dude. Listen, Gary Harris is good. He is good, but you cannot let this guy. I'd rather have him taking again more contested twos than contested than threes. I'm sorry. And some of the threes, the Clippers allowed by Gary Harris were wide open threes, especially late in that game when the Clippers tried to make some kind of comeback near the tail end of the game. They left the dude wide open for three. And he, of course, if you're wide open for three, you should make the shot. You're wide open for a reason. Other than that, he didn't really affect anything in the stat total. So, stuff like that. Jamal Murray, to say that he looked like he was going to play like he was going to drop 50 points on us, yeah. But again, like Nikola Jokic, he really much only did all his damage in the first quarter and cooled down beyond belief. Honestly, the way him and Jokic were playing, I believe they combined for like 40 something points or something like that. But the way Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray were playing, if they said they had that same hot streak they had, they both would have dropped probably 50 themselves. But like I said, Jamal Murray, for the most part, he cooled down after the hot, after the hot shooting in the first quarter. He had 27 points. He had 3 rebounds and 6 assists. He had 2 steals again and 1 block. If a guard's getting a block on you, I don't know what that says. Look, Jamal Murray, he played really good in the first quarter. I'm not going to lie that. The Clippers, they just got to do a better job in defending him, even though sometimes, some of the shots he regard, they were contested shots, but most of the times the Clippers were playing pretty lackadaisical defense on Jamal Murray. But listen, look at it. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, they finished with 26 and 27 points respectively, which means something. They didn't do much of any damage going forward after that first quarter because, like I said, they did tiny bits and later in the game, but they did most of their damage. They both had, I think, around 20 points by the end of the first quarter. So if you were able to, hold them to, that many points, the Clippers definitely could have came back. The reason why the Clippers didn't come back is because they turned the ball over, and every time they came over there, they decided to play more iso ball instead of play more, moving the ball around. As well as the fact is, they were missing free throw shots again, turnovers, and then on the Clippers side, they were just awful at shooting the ball themselves, like legit. Like in that third quarter, the Nuggets shot like around 29%, which was their worst shooting percentage of the game, I believe. But the Clippers, they shoot around the same percentage as they do. And that's the reason why they didn't get back in the game, because the Nuggets were literally giving the game away for the Clippers, and stuff like that. Torrey Craig only had 3 points. He wasn't much of an impact, but still, he was another player that had a steal. Monte Morris, he had 10 points, 2 assists. He was good tonight for them. He was hitting shots when he was hitting shots. Michael Porter Jr., he had 11 points. He rebounded then from last game. Still, he wasn't an overall threat, but the most reason why he got his points was mostly because of offensive rebounds, which were another thing too. The Clippers really were poor at rebounding in this game. When we would get the stops, when it would be a break by Denver, somehow the Clippers did not end up with the rebound. The Denver Nuggets ended up with the rebound, and 9 out of 10 times they made the shot on that offensive rebound, and that just further expanded the lead. And it's like, you're just squandering opportunity after opportunity to get back in this game. If you freaking can't get the rebounds after a good defensive possession, and you're just going to let them score off the offensive rebound, well, guess what? You're going to lose. Yeah, see, and stuff like that. Now let's get to the Clipper stats. Here, guys. Let's get to their stats if it wants to show up. Kawhi Leonard in 38 minutes. Again, like I said, he played terrible. Arguably his worst game of the freaking playoffs, his worst game of the bubble by far. Well, not his worst game of the bubble. Well, unless you want to count the preseason games, yeah, he had his one of his worst games in the freaking bubble in the playoffs. He was 4 from 17 from the field, so he kind of did what a Paul George somewhat kind of did here in like in the Dallas series. He shot 23.5% from the field. The dude cannot buy a shot to save his life. I'm sorry. And some of the shots, they were in, but they were rimming out. And look, the only thing you can say to Kawhi Leonard is he just didn't have it tonight. His stuff wasn't there tonight. The buckets weren't there for him tonight. And like I said earlier about the refs, usually he gets the benefit of the foul calls from the refs. Now the refs were literally not giving him nothing in terms of foul calls, and because of it, he never got in his rhythm and stuff like that. But again, too, he did have free throws, but he missed two of them, which is another trend you can see. You can see every Clipper going forward, they missed at least a free throw. That can't happen, especially if it's one of your better free throw shooters. You should not be missing free throws if you're going to give it to them. You're literally only like a few feet away from the basket. Make these easy shots. He did have a double-double, but regardless, I don't think anybody cares because the only thing that's going to be put in the headlines is Kawhi Leonard played like crap. He had 10 rebounds. He had 8 assists, 1 block, and 3 steals. Listen, this is Kawhi Leonard. I know he's going to bounce back for Game 3, and he's going to get back to the Kawhi Leonard we all know and love. And like I said, that's credit to Denver. They adjusted and played really good defense that frustrated him and got at him because they were, instead of just waiting to double him when he got into the paint, they doubled him the moment he touched the ball. And then that's a way to frustrate him. And they frustrated him, and they did it. So Doc Rivers and the other coaching staff, they're going to have to find adjustments to make it sure how Kawhi Leonard will get to his spot and be able to shoot his stuff. At the same time, I still believe other players need to come around and help him out when he's getting double teamed, because you just have players just standing in the corner, just standing there and be like, okay, let's just watch our best player get double teamed here, guys. Nobody's going to make a combined effort to go run up to the double team or go run up next to Kawhi and be like, hey, give me the ball, and stuff like that. Unless Kawhi's going to try to split it. So, yeah. Marcus Morris, who decided to show up like late in the game. This is another trend I see. I feel like if Marcus Morris does not play really good for like the first couple of quarters, we end up losing because we really miss his scoring. Because if he's scoring early on, that's a difference maker. He had 11 points and he was 3 of 9 from the field. He shot the ball 33.3% from the field. He had 2 of his 3-pointers. Again, another guy who missed one of his free throws. He had 3 rebounds, and he had 2 turnovers. Marcus Morris didn't play good. Again, like I said, typically I'm seeing that, and if he doesn't play well to start off the game, we more than likely use. See, this is Marcus Morris Sr. when they play the Lakers, where he just fails to show up to the late minutes of the game, and then now he freaking wants to shoot. Even though Paul George, anyways, on to the next guy. Even though we had Paul George had more points than this dude, Ivica Zubac was probably the Clippers' best player tonight in a pretty embarrassing performance. He was the Clippers' best, performance. He had 15 points in 20 minutes, which I'm sorry. 20, you can't have, Ivica Zubac's got to play more minutes than 20. I'm sorry. He's got to play more minutes than 20. He shot the ball 75% from the field. He even missed a free throw. He had 9 rebounds. Look, Zubac, he gives you all you can ask. He was honestly at the point one of the best players for the Clippers on the floor. And the fact that he only had 20 minutes, yeah. Now, that's mostly because, when they put Jermichael Green into that small ball lineup they played, the Clippers played much better, which I think Doc Rivers should take notes and potentially maybe play that lineup a lot more. That's what I think. Yeah. But Paul George was probably the second best player in the team because, one, he had second most. He led the team in the points. Even though we went 7-19 from the field, he was fine. I was kind of irked because he missed three freaking layups to start the game up. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. If you're a superstar player and you're missing layups, you got an issue. He also had, as you can see, he had four turnovers, and some of them turnovers were just really effing stupid. Um, one, some of the turnovers he causes for himself are purely on himself because he dribbles way too much, and then people just pick his pocket. And then two, sometimes he looks like he's gonna go up for a shot, and then he just passes it. I'm like, dude, just go for the shot and go get fouled. Like, bro, some of the turnovers were really bad for him. He didn't play particularly. He didn't play well in this game, even though he had. Well, Landry Shamet had the lowest plus minus, but yeah. Regardless, he didn't play the best. So yeah, still he dropped 22. So listen, it is what it is. Patrick Beverly, um, he didn't much do much of anything like he did in game one. He only had 2 points. He played decent enough defense, um, and stuff like that. But as you know, people are gonna blow the fact, oh, he got ejected because he's Patrick Beverly. Again, like I said, the reason why Patrick Beverly got ejected, and we don't really need to talk about this, but the reason why Patrick Beverly got ejected, in my opinion, I think he just got fed up with the foul calls that the refs were, giving the Nuggets compared to the Clippers. Because he probably, and he even got up in Doc's face like, "Yo, can you challenge this one foul call and stuff like that?" And Doc wasn't challenging it and stuff like that. And then Beverly just kept talking about, and then they just ejected him. Like I said, I think it's just due to frustration because the ref weren't giving the Clippers certain calls that the Nuggets were getting the calls for. Again, like I said, the refs were very anti-Clippers here. I don't know if they just don't like the Clippers. They have some sort of vendetta, but they really just, man. And sometimes the way that these games are called, it really does feel like the NBA is rigged, like literally, like, and stuff like that. Landry Shamet, he didn't have the best game of himself either. He only had 2 points himself as well. Lou Williams, he was fine for what he was. And he was the only Clipper who had a positive plus or minus on the court. He had 13 points. He was 6 from 16 from the field, so he didn't shoot the ball particularly well. He was 37% shooting from the field as well. Um, you know, listen, I can honestly go and run over the stats more than likely. Reggie Jackson, Montrezl Harrell, Jermichael Green. Jermichael Green also he was one of the other Clippers that had positive plus minus because on the defensive side of the ball, he really he really worked, and plus it helped out with spacing the floor a lot too. Um, so I wonder if they'll run that lineup where it's Bev, Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, and Jermichael, because that lineup actually worked for the most part, and it seemed to get him back in the game. The only problem is the Clippers would always get out rebounded and stuff like that. But still, as I end the share for this game here, guys. Yep. Yeah. Listen. At the end of the day, the Clippers lost this game, and they lost it pretty embarrassingly. Now, performances like Kawhi tonight, that's not going to happen again. I know in Game 3 he's going to be ready to play, and hopefully the entire Clippers are ready to play because essentially, this game wasn't a blowout, but it felt like a blowout. Even though the Clippers had their chances to get back in this game, they squandered the opportunity to get back in this game, and that's the thing that upsets me the most. The fact that they had chances to get back in this game and they just didn't freaking execute. They turned the ball over at these stupid times when they had chances to come back. And, it's just a recipe for disaster. So, again, it's my thing with the Clippers. It's my thing with the Clippers. And even I was reading some tweets this morning, the fact that, Paul George, he said in his press conference, I didn't expect the Denver Nuggets to, adjust defensively the way they adjusted in game 2. If you're gonna sit here and say that to national media, then yeah, that goes to show you guys you guys weren't prepared um to play in game 2. Like seriously, if you're not going to understand that you've blown out a team in a playoff game, they're going to adjust defensively regardless. If that's the case, then you and the entire other team didn't adjust. And that goes back to that cocky mindset the Clippers have. They can't have that in these playoffs. I just don't like how they don't get up to play other teams. You know, they sun's in my eyes. Um, I just don't get how they get up to play the Lakers. But if any other team, if they blow them out, they just take it easy against those guys. But regardless, so I can get the sun out my face and stuff like that. Um, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. It was a tough pill to swallow. We'll be back, and hopefully the Clippers, will step their game up. See, Game 3 is the type of game where you make a statement to Denver and be like, okay, you guys are talented and you guys are good, but you can't hang with us. We can still beat you guys, whether it's a close matchup or anything. The Clippers, the key to the Clippers in Game 3 is they cannot have Denver have a performance in a quarter where they shoot more than 50% from the field. I'm sorry. If they're doing that, then yeah, the Clippers, unless they're shooting like that, unless they weather the storm and legit come back when the time comes, you know, that's the thing. But other than that, that's all I gotta say here. So yeah, if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section what do you think the Clippers are gonna do to rebound in Game 3 on Monday, as well as hit that subscribe button and get more Clippers playoff recap. So till then, guys, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video. I'll see you till then. Peace.